So, how do I make hundreds of songs turning in albums per week? That's right, albums per week to multiple libraries, and soon my own, have endless ideas, and have a life with weekends and nights off? Oh, yeah. And I have fun doing it. It's not a job, it's an adventure, but it's a really, really fun and creative adventure. Well, that's what this podcast is all about today. It's not about me. Well, it's a lot about me because I'm the one talking for an hour, but it's also a podcast about you, those of you watching it. You may be sitting there or standing there or driving there or however you're watching or hearing this. You shouldn't be watching this and driving. And while you love the idea of making music and putting it into libraries or getting it out on somehow onto television shows or films or advertising and all that, you may be thinking one of these things. I need help just realizing my songs, much less putting them in libraries. I need help making them. I can't even realize my own song ideas unless I have AI make it. And we're not going to do that, are we? I can't make it on my own, which a lot of people can't make it on their own. And so that's one of you who's thinking that, or maybe many of you, but that's one section of you thinking you need help realizing your songs. You can't produce your own songs. Or two, maybe you're an amazing talent as a songwriter or a singer or an instrumentalist or a composer, but you just need help making the sound professional. You don't know how to use a DAW a lot. You don't know how to make the final mix and master, and if you did get a library deal, you wouldn't know how to deliver it all and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's the kind of person you are. The third kind of person you could be is someone who already makes great music. Maybe it's really good sounding music. You're a talented producer of music you make, but getting that music to the right people is hard, and it is very difficult. I'm not going to lie. But if you might be this person who's just trying to get stuff to someone, but there's just all the doors are closed. Nobody is picking up the phone or answering your emails. I'll answer your emails, by the way. Maybe you are already getting music to libraries, but you want more. You're greedy. I'm just kidding. You just want more. So do I. It's a drug. You're hooked and you want more. I totally get that. Well, whichever of these you are, my friends, I can help you today. That's what today's video is about. I'm going to describe to you how I am working on dozens of songs per week with people just like you. All the type of people I just talked about a minute ago. All of those kinds of people is part of this video today and part of how it gets done. And I want to talk about how I get the music that I want to make made, and the people and the tools and the processes I use to get it done. This is a podcast, so you need to get your jammies on or get comfy or just get settled, and you need to listen all the way through because this is going to be a doozy. But an hour from now, you will know how I do what I do. How we are making hundreds of songs, maybe close to 400 to 500 quality songs this year or in a year's time that are getting in libraries and other uses. This video is all about how the sausage is made. If only he hadn't eaten so much sausage, they'll say about me when I'm gone. So, as my friend and composer and amazing guitarist Mark in Nashville says all the time, Mr. Copeland, how do you do it? Well, here's how. Welcome to the Make Music Income Podcast. My name is Eric Copeland, and I've made a full-time living as a music producer, composer, and arranger for over 25 years. In this podcast, I talk about making music income with music licensing, music production, music streaming, music royalties, being a music composer, arranger, producer, or artist, or really any way that I have in the past or currently now or want to make music income. I have free and paid courses and coaching and ebooks for you at makemusicincome.com/free. Make sure to like this podcast if you enjoy the content because it really helps, and subscribe if you're just finding the podcast or channel and want to be part of things every week. I hope all this content helps you make the music you love to make and make music income. So, welcome everybody to the podcast today. I do want to talk about today is a sponsor of today's show and something we will refer back to all the time, not only in this video, but all of the time on this channel, because this is what this is all about. This is what it's all about. You need partners. I need partners. This whole video is about how I get stuff done, and it's not because I'm sitting here and such a genius making it and just like wearing that thing out and wearing the other keyboard out, and I'm just magically putting it into a site that puts it up. This isn't Pond 5 where I just upload stuff and it magically goes up there and then it gets into libraries. It's not like that. That's not how this works. We're going to talk about that today and why my history and my present is why it works, and we'll talk about it. If you haven't been part of Positive Spin Partners, haven't checked it out, I have just made a new page today of how I accept music. Since I announced my library, I have been not deluged yet, but I'm starting to understand how libraries feel when they get a lot of people sending them stuff. So, but I have at this site, positivespinsongs.com/partners, I have the page that talks about the program, and then at the bottom, I talk about how I accept music. And the smart people will read that and abide by the rules. But we'll come back to Positive Spin Partners today because there's something else I want to talk about, because for the first time in a while, and I don't have a thing for it, but I do have some news. And now the news. So this isn't new news, but it's good news, and so you might want to know about it. And if you don't know, recently there was a law passed into law. A law passed into law. But it's called the HITS Act, and basically what it does is it gives music creators like you, like me, the same financial advantages already granted to film and to television shows and television producers and theaters, which specifically allows artists, performers, songwriters, producers, labels to deduct up to $150,000 in recording expenses. Now, here's the thing. You always could deduct stuff you spent on this, but they spread it out over years. They did spread the deduction out over different years. But now you can deduct up to $150,000 in recording expenses. So if you spend $10,000, $20,000, I've had clients before do albums for $10,000 to $20,000, $15,000 or so, and they spend a lot of money paying musicians, paying producers like me, paying different things. And all of that is now deductible in the same tax year. So when you do your taxes early in 2025, you can put them all on a Schedule C, whether you are a business or not, and you can put them and write them off of your taxes. So a pretty cool thing, especially with our partners program, which is all about a lot of times we are paying players. We are maybe paying engineers. Maybe we are paying for all sorts of production items that you might use, from libraries to all this kind of stuff that you can write off. So I thought it was important to mention here on the show that it's around and it's a thing. It's now law. It was part of the big, beautiful bill. Politics aside, it's part of that bill that just passed. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. You got $150,000 to write off at the end of the year. So that's the news for today. And I just did want to mention it before we move on. By the way, since we are here, this is actually the Positive Spin site itself. And if you want to hear what I'm doing, you say, you're making all this music, really? What kind of music do you make? I don't see any music being made on your Make Music Income site. Where's all this music you say you're making? It's right there. It's right there. There's a lot there. So if you're interested and you want to see what I'm doing, if you want to see if the proof is in the pudding, go to the site. Leave me alone. Don't get so. But I did want to show you the Positive Spin Partners program. It's all here if you want to find out how to work with me and how to work with us. Folks, it's not just me. We have Monday meetings with the entire crew, and we go over everything. I'm going to show you that later. But I describe everything here on this page, positivespinsongs.com/partners. And now at the bottom, you can see my song submission policy and how I accept music if you want me to listen to it. Only if you want me to listen. If you don't want me to listen, then you don't have to worry about it. You can do things I won't. It's like, if you don't want me to listen, then use these things. Use SoundCloud and see if I care. So here's an important thing to see though. I will respond. I will respond if you email me, which you may not get in the music industry. It's a real challenge to get people who are busy in the music industry to respond. I'll never be too busy to quickly respond to an email message. Come on. It's not that hard. So I'll always respond. If you want to ask me a question, send me a message. I'll always respond. I may not have time to answer a 4,000-page email. I may just give you some quick thoughts, but I'll always respond. All right. So let's move on with the show here as we talk about how I do it. How do you do it? How do I make a lot of quality music for sync and continue to make it all the time? Well, I think we have to go back just for a second, and we have to talk about the history of the way I've always worked in music. I have historically been first, before anybody knew, when only family and friends and fans knew about my music, it was as an artist, as a songwriter. But at some point, even when I was in high school, people were asking me, I had the recording equipment, so people were asking me to record stuff for them. And then people were asking me to record them in my 20s. I was always the guy making sure things were recorded. And then when I left corporate finally, and in right around 2000, and started working at the studio, I just became a full-time music producer, and people paid me. And my life since then, 25 years, has been making other people's music or making my music with other people. So you have to understand that my daily life for the last 25 years has been about making music with people, for other people, with musicians, with engineers, in studios. That's been all I do. And it's kind of the secret to my success, because while I haven't really had any, I've had a few other jobs here and there. I might work part-time at a church or taught for a little bit, but that did not mean I was not here doing what I'm doing all day long, slaving over a hot keyboard, thinking up song ideas, which happens all the time anyway. You know what I'm talking about. But that's the history of my music work. That's what I've been doing all these years, is making music for other people and making albums, multiple albums at a time. If I was doing less than 10, it was crazy, because I couldn't survive if I was doing less projects than that. And it's still that way, except it's probably double that amount. But so the history of my music work is in producing. So the way that I am doing producing now, I had to explain this to someone the other day, because they asked me, is there a way? Actually, several people this week have emailed and asked me, or I've been on a Zoom with them and they've asked me, is there a way to working with me or into my new sub-label that's going to be in a library starting in November that we're starting to prepare albums for now. Is there a way into that without Positive Spin Partners? And the answer is no. I am not your music gate that you can just shove anything through, just like no library, self-respecting library is. Sorry, Pond 5 or Audio Sparks or whoever just accepts music and puts it onto their site. That is not what I do. As a matter of fact, I won't even accept people into the Positive Spin program, the Partners program, unless they have sent me stuff and I've heard it and I've heard that it's quality. Or I think I can help them in a certain way. Like I talked about at the top, the 4 different kinds of people who can't make their own music, although they have music ideas. People who can make their own music, but it's not quality. People who can make quality music, but can't really get it out. And then, of course, people who are already doing what I'm doing, except they want to do more of it, and so they can. All of those people can be served through the Positive Spin Partners program. And it's a very, very unique program. I don't know many other people or anyone else who's doing something like this. I know some people, like my friend Dave over at 52Qs, they have a great community, but he's really more interested in teaching people and then bringing some people through his new publishing kind of thing, which is great. And we talk all the time. Dave and I meet for lunch. We just met last week or so, and we talk to each other about different things. So it's great to have some people like that, like I have with Stevie B, or like I have with other people who, you can just say, man, YouTube is hard. Life is hard as a musician, but here's what I want to do, and here's what's happening, and all that kind of stuff. So we talk a lot. But the reason why Positive Spin Partners, the program, is so unique is that I can work with anybody on any part of the spectrum of music, wherever they are. So I have some people in there who are just not at all people who can realize a song completely. They are dependent on a producer. And so they pay me as a producer, just like any person coming to me. If you're an artist, you wanted me to do a song. One change that's made is with the advent of Positive Spin Partners, I have probably reached the end with a few outstanding projects of being a music producer for hire. I just don't have time. We are creating so many albums, as we'll talk about today, that I just don't have any time to be a one-off producer for artists to put their own music out. Unless they are interested in sync and they are writing for sync, then I am absolutely interested in artists who want to be part of sync and even be signed. We just had an artist in the past month be signed to BMG as an artist. So we are working on that EP right now. So I do work with artists, but the reason the program's unique is, number one, we have meetings. We have meetings every week. It is called the Weekly Spin Up. And this is something that we do every Monday at 11 a.m. This isn't something you get at libraries. I mean, I do have one library that has some online way to distribute messages, but it's kind of like that has kind of stopped. But guess where it hasn't stopped? It hasn't stopped with us. We are doing new things all the time. You can just see here what we talk about during that meeting. We're talking about the different kinds of albums that we're doing, what we did last week, what we did this week, what Positive Spins has going on, which is our vocal part side, what albums we have going on in the instrumental side, and then where I need help, what things that we're working on for, and what things the libraries are asking us for, and what I need from the partners that week. This is type of stuff that, and look at all these albums that we've had accepted in 2025. The numbers are just astounding. And in case you didn't realize that or see that, 150 songs already in libraries this year. Actually, there's more because I just put some in. Possibly we might get up to the 400 mark. Likely at least another. I mean, we have another 160 songs to go, or 200 songs to go on albums, and 2 of them are delivering this week. So it's crazy, but it's true. This is what we're doing with Positive Spin Songs, and it's just a unique thing. We're making different albums, and those albums are usually and almost always thought of by me, which is super fun for me because I love thinking about albums. And it's not just clients telling me what albums we're doing. It's albums that I want to do. So that's what's happening is Positive Spin Songs and Positive Spin Partners. And everybody who's part of that is going to be able to pitch and currently is able to pitch to any projects that we have going. And so that's another great reason to be part of Positive Spin Partners. Now, there's other things that happen with Positive Spin Partners. We have levels of different kinds of people. Like I said, the 4 levels of different people who are involved. We have projects that matter. I can keep you busy, and it will be busyness. You might be busy, working a job, coming home, trying to make songs and all that kind of stuff. But are you doing something while you're being busy that matters? Or is it just another song going on your hard drive? Is it just another song that you show your significant other or your friends and then nothing happens with it? Well, the songs that I have my partners giving me every week are songs that you saw on that presentation where every Monday we are talking about what I need, what matters this week, because it's going in a library next week or in 2 weeks or in a month. Or it's going in my library at some point here soon, because we won't even have to ask if it goes in my library. I get to put in my library whatever I want to put in my library. The question has come up while I've been talking with people this week about how I work with partners is, why do I charge people? And because if you've checked the program out, you know that there are some possibilities of charges. Well, if we hire people, I think it's pretty obvious that we have to pay them. If we hire musicians in Nashville to record country for us, somebody's going to have to pay for those sessions. It's not me, and it's not. Sometimes the library will chip in on musician stuff, but usually it's the artist who would be doing that anyway if they were making music to put out, because they just want it to sound great and they want the right people involved, or singers that we have to pay for. But a lot of times I also am charging people because I am doing production work for them. Production work, as I talked about at the top, that many people can't do. Or maybe you can, but getting it ready for a library and getting it to a library and doing the stems and all those kind of things is a whole nother deal. Sure, you could learn how to do that, but do you have even time for that? Can you move at the speed we need to move at and you need to move at in order to have enough stuff out there that's going to make you income? Or because if you just fool around and do one album a year, it's going to be a while. It's going to be almost impossible to make that any kind of consistent income from Sync. That's just the way Sync works. But I did want to share a cool quote that I got. So this is from Eli, and Eli and I have done a great album. And he says, "I'm excited for your new direction, and I'm thankful to be part of it in some way. Thanks for helping me get up out of the pit. As you recall, the first question," and we did a consult at first, he goes, "the first question I asked you was, should I just hang it all up and quit? You were really my last-ditch effort, but look at me now, a 12-song album signed that I just got the A-OK from the library yesterday, and 2 songs on the BMG Halloween album that we just had accepted there, and we've delivered already. It's what I've wanted to do for a long time, but I was beginning to think it was just a pipe dream. Again, thank you for your encouragement and your help, and you're certainly welcome." And so I thought that was pretty cool, and I just want to say thanks, Eli, and my absolute pleasure, man. Again, this is the kind of thing I'm hearing from partners, and it's so much fun. And this is probably, if not the way, but the answer to the question, how do I get so much done? It's these people. It's having partners along the entire spectrum of of ability, people who are new at songwriting, or they're good at sequencing, or they're good in their DAW, or they're really good, all the way to people who could probably do this themselves and put songs in libraries. So all these people, all my partners. And if it's not the secret of my success, it's certainly one of the main ways that I make a lot of quality music for sync libraries and other things. I mean, these don't necessarily have to be for sync libraries. I am pitching some stuff to sync agents and to specific briefs that I get. So it's not always necessarily a library, but I personally feel that libraries are the better way to have consistent stuff be found and used over and over and over again, which I think is the key to long-term success in this. But I want to talk about another thing that's also, these are partners every bit as Positive Spin partners. Many of these people are also partners, and that is my Nashville players and engineers. Since I moved to Nashville and started working in Nashville in the early 2000s, and then moved there in 2004, these people have been the real secret to my success. Getting my first deal with BMG was due to the players and the engineers and the singers who were part of those songs. They were almost all 100% written by me, but they were played and performed in a lot of ways from these players and engineers. And many of them have made air and have brought money through the years. So, and these players were paid in sessions to do this kind of stuff. And so, yes, I did pay them. And so you're asking, who pays them? Well, like, I paid them, or clients who were partners. There were some partners in that. And now a lot of the Positive Spin partners help pay these players as well, because they want their songs to sound very, very high end and quality. So who pays the players? Well, we do. I do. Whoever needs them pays them. Now, I do have a few players now who are playing to be part of the PRO writers split. And so that is, or we are writing some things together. So that is a big part of my success. And again, how I'm able to be having a lot of songs be made. One of the secrets to having a lot of songs made is partners like my program or these players, where I can be doing the final mixes and or writing, and everything in between can be done with partners, with players, with singers, with engineers. And a lot of it is what I've been doing for 25 years, which is just balancing all of those people together. It's not for everyone. Some people would rather just be in their DAW and make it all themselves and find libraries who want that. And that's fine. And I do that too. I have stuff like that. But the secret sauce for me has always been great players and of course great songs and great engineering. I find myself mixing a lot of things these days, and that's part of what's happening. And if anyone ever asks me, why is there a fee to be part of the Partners Program? Well, first of all, you're getting a free Zoom with me every week. But secondly, and unlimited email and co-writing and also final production. And then somebody's got to make all those stems and send it. Also me. Somebody's got to find the libraries. It's not a fee to be pitched to libraries. It's not a pitching service. Pitching is like kind of a side benefit of being part of the Partners Program, if that makes sense. All right, so what else do I use to make a lot of quality music? Well, besides Nashville players and engineers and singers, I also use soundbetter.com. This is not an ad and is not sponsored by soundbetter.com. They don't even have an affiliate program. I wish they did. Or if they do, I don't know about it. But I have been getting a lot of singers off there. I have been doing a lot with soundbetter.com. That site was very instrumental, so to speak, in the country albums that we just produced and finished and delivered. So I had to have singers, and that's a great way to find singers. So if you're looking for singers, but they have guitar players and all that other stuff too. I just don't need the players because I already have the people in Nashville. So soundbetter.com is another way. Again, those are people that are working while I'm working on other stuff. They're working on their part, and then they send it to me. And when I get it, I can either have them fix it or it's done, and then I can put that in to what's going on. So soundbetter.com. Who pays for that? Well, that a lot of times libraries I will find will sometimes pay for singers or parts of singers. Now, sometimes you trade that off for sync and or partial sync deals where they're going to pay the players, but you'll pay off sync. And if anybody who's talked to me in the past 2 months knows, I will take money up front for sync any day. And if you're a library right now and you want to know if I will take a buyout, yes. So there you go. But SoundBetter is a great place to use, and it's really helping me get a lot done. If not for players or producers, that part I'm not so sure about, and I can't recommend that. I also, for a short while, was putting myself up there as a producer, but I've taken that down. I just don't have time, and I need to stay focused on all these albums and all the partners that I'm working with. People who I know, who I've vetted, who I love working with, and we are making great stuff that I love. There's no time to go back to music that you don't love. There's no time to go back to not having fun as a producer. So I am having fun and doing it this way. The other way and thing that is very important to my process of making sure that I have a lot of songs being made and getting done all the time is coming up with new ideas. And for anyone who knows me, especially personally, including especially my wife or my kids, they know I am an idea factory. And so coming up with album ideas, this goes back to before I even became a producer. Even as a kid, I had ideas for books and for albums of music and all these things, for musicals. I literally wrote musicals. I had a book, and I would write all my musicals down, and they had people talking to each other. It had a script. It had all the words to the musicals. That's just what I do. It's what I've always done. I've been the guy who has a billion ideas. And so coming up with album ideas, notice that word. Notice that word, albums. Raise your hand if you think in terms of songs or albums. Give me a like if you think in terms of albums, because albums is the real key in sync. I think, or at least in the library world, it's the real key. If you're going to approach a library, I read this or heard this week from someone, there's almost zero reason to approach them with anything but a full album that's available to them. As a matter of fact, I know who it was. I was listening to Dave Croft's podcast where he answered a bunch of questions. Great. I almost did a video today, Dave, based on that video. And answer and just giving my thoughts on all the things you gave your thoughts on. It was so much fun. But he talked about one question came in was somebody said, should I send them links to things I've already got signed in libraries? And he said, probably not, because libraries don't want to see music they can't have. It's like dangling fruit in front of an animal or a baby or me and saying, here, you can have this. No, you can't. Here's what I can have. Doesn't that look delicious? You can't have it. So they much rather have an album that is completely made and ready to go. So that's what we're doing with Positive Spin Songs. We're in our meetings, we're coming up with albums, and I'm announcing the newest albums. Every week I have a new album. Last week it was a percussion album that I wanted to work towards, and this week it's possibly some Mexican songs or Latin songs or some another one is a Christmas dramedy album I want to do. So all these kind of things are things that we're doing, and coming up with those ideas is kind of my job and kind of my favorite thing to do. And because I come up with so many ideas, we have 20 albums, 30 albums, 40 albums that are lined up to do all the time. So I'm getting ready to deliver one album from Eli, who I talked about earlier, to a library in the next day or two, and deliver all the stems and stuff to them, which is a bit of work. But once it's there, it's done. And also another library to my BMG another album to my BMG library who asked for this album. And so once I deliver those two, guess what? They come off the list, and the next ones come up. Boom, boom. Next two albums to finish. And several of those are already committed to libraries. So finishing albums means first you have to come up with albums, and most of the ideas are mine. Sometimes the ideas are from partners. Partners come up with some ideas or contribute to ideas. Artists may come to me and say, hey, I have an artist, I work with artists, and we decide, hey, why don't we do an album of your stuff or an EP of your stuff and pitch it to a library or put it into our upcoming library. So all of these things, all of these album ideas are ways, and making sure you're thinking towards album and not just thinking about a song. Then the next way that I do it, how do I do it? How do I do it? Well, one of the reasons that we're making albums is because they're requested by libraries. I am talking to libraries all the time, and or they know me, and or they know I do a certain thing, and so they request it. Recently, one of my libraries suggested to another library I hadn't met before that if they wanted to make country, that they should talk to me because I have country people, musicians, engineers, studios, all that kind of stuff in Nashville. And if you want good country made, to come to me, the country guy, apparently. And so we did. And that turned into a record for this label, eight songs. And then also I end up making more because I'm not going to just track 8 songs if I have 2 days to track. So I tracked 13 songs. There's a video about that coming soon at some point. But I made 13 new songs, maybe 14, and some of them went to 2 albums that we're putting out on BMG as well. So that was actually three albums of country music, all because one library asked another library about where do I get a country album made. I've also just delivered a Christmas album to a library because they wanted another one of our cello Christmas albums. Or they actually, here's what's funny. I've told the story already on this channel, but somebody wanted Christmas music, and I pitched them Christmas music, which was not great. It was demos. Never pitch demos. This is another reason why I get people to come work with me as partners. But even I make this mistake. I've sent not completely finished work. Terrible idea. And the library said, that's not what we're looking for. I'm like, I don't blame you. And actually 2 different people I've sent these ideas to, and they both gave me the exact same response. But what it did was asking them if they liked it, and them saying no, it opened up the door for me to say, well, how about this kind of album? How about this album? What if I gave you this? And the request turns into a deal because they didn't want what you sent them, but they did want something else that you've shown them you've done. Now, in this case, I did show them an album that I had already done, and they liked it, and they said, can you do another one of those? And I said, we already have it done. That was mostly true. And we did, within a week, we had finished it. We had finished the recording of it. But requests from libraries are another reason, and many of the albums that you saw when I was flipping through our meeting PowerPoint are albums that are requested and or already accepted based on 2 or 3 songs that we did that we showed them and they liked it. So we have that as one of the reasons why I produce so much quality sync music. The quality part I haven't really talked about. Maybe I'll hit that towards the end. So that's another reason. Lovely Fishing Rod says, it's hard to come up with good album ideas these days. Gosh, I don't think so. I don't think it's hard at all. Between what I'm asked to come up with and then what I just come up with on my own and the things that I want to do, it's endless. especially once you have relationships with libraries and you can ask them, what do you need? And they might bring up something you hadn't even thought of, and you're like, ooh, that'd be fun. And so, and with my partners program, I can just go, ooh, that'd be fun. Hey, partners, and what are we going to do this week towards this album idea? So it is challenging, but I love the challenge, and I love making albums. And in a lot of ways, one way that albums come together a lot of times is I might hear a couple of songs. I've got 2 or 3 albums that were started because of one song. We've got an album right now called Feeling Good. It's a pop album. It's about full as far as ideas and ready to produce. We're not ready to do it yet because of all the other albums that we're doing. But it's just about full. But it was all started by one song called Feeling Good that Kristen wrote. And I said, this feeling good, positive pop music is always popular with libraries. So doing a well-produced album of feel-good pop music is a no-brainer. And we've done that already this year. We've delivered one to a library that was asked for. And it's always something you should be doing. We've just been kind of like trying to finish Christmas and Halloween lately because this is the time when you finish it. Actually, it should already be finished. But yeah, do you embed metadata in your DAW or do you use a different service? No, I don't do it in the DAW. There's 2 ways I do it. Number one, I physically put it in, or they ask for it. And when I start my own label, I'm going to have to do a lot of metadata. They've already given me the specs for it. It's a lot to do. Also, I use Disco, and Disco has some AI metadata stuff it does, and it's pretty good. It will put in a bunch of keywords. It'll put the genre in. It'll put if it's vocal or instrumental. It does a lot of stuff like that. But I also have a template inside of Disco that I use where I make sure that my phone number and my email is in there if they have any questions about the songs. I think that's the most important part of metadata is that they can find you, they can get a hold of you, and if they like the music, to ask questions. There's no ambiguity about how do I find the person who the song belongs to. So I'll have more to say about metadata down the road when I have to start doing more of it. Right now, the libraries do it. I just deliver the music and the libraries take care of it. I wouldn't worry so much about embedding a lot of metadata in your DAW or even stuff that you're pitching, because the metadata section really comes in for the library when they are preparing to get it out there and have it be found. That's the important part. At the part where you're pitching to the library, they're listening more than they are searching for keywords and stuff like that. But if you have a disco and all that kind of stuff, make sure that you are putting at least who it belongs to, how they can get in touch with you, and all that kind of stuff. Marcelo says, is the stock music marketing dead? Is it worth it nowadays? I just did a video on that just a few videos back, stating my thoughts there. I'm not spending a lot of time there. So that's what I think of stock music. I don't know. Human Helper says, are you looking for new partners? Only human ones. But yes, Human Helper, I might be looking for new. I'm always looking for new partners. New partners are going to be the lifeblood of any library or any, and I find that they're always going to be part of what I do in some way. I could, just like you, just like anybody, I could sit in my room and just make my own music and not involve anyone. One of the reasons I do this podcast, someone asked me earlier, so how to do a YouTube channel. One of the reasons I do this, and especially live, is because I need to talk to somebody. My wife wants me to get out of the house or at least talk to other humans. So partners are the way to do that. And our partner meeting on Monday mornings is just so much fun. And getting ready for that and talking about and exploring all the new ideas for albums and different people jumping in on different albums is just a blast. John C. says, when working on an album, how many different versions of your music do you include for each track? if you're like for instance, I'm going to be delivering a project. Well, this project I'm going to be delivering, I won't be doing any mixes because this particular library does all the mixing themselves and all the versions. So all I'll be delivering to this library that I just finished an album yesterday and they approved it, I'll just be doing stems. I'll be doing one mix and all they want is an MP3, and then I will be I'll be just sending, and they'll do all the mixing there. They'll use mine as a reference, but they do their own thing. It's not my preferred way. I'm too much of a control freak for that, but at the same time, it's less work. So it's all good, and they're great to work with. But usually, if it's any other library, probably 5 to 6, I would say, almost anything. You have the main mix, the mix that you like, the main one. Then you have a mix with instrumental only, no vocals, or no melody mix. You have drums only. You have drums and bass only, like a drum and bass mix. You have no drums, so you just take the drums out and have the track. And then any other interesting mixes that there might be. Like with some of the country albums, there were some really neat, like acoustic mixes because you had all these kind of different instruments like mandolin and banjo and upright bass and all this stuff. So I will do some special mixes like that. Sometimes there are like EDM mixes or ambient mixes you can do that are just cool because of the type of instruments, and it just depends on the songs and the album. If it's a EDM album or some kind of hip hop album, then a drum and bass is going to be definitely needed. And so it just depends on the album. But great question. How would I go about connecting with your partner program? I'm glad you asked. And guess what? Here you go. You just go, take your human self, and go to positivespinpartners.com, or sorry, positivespinsongs.com/partners. And if you want to hear this kind of stuff that I've done with and without partners, go to positivespinsongs.com. But positivespinsongs.com/partners, you will find out how the program works, and you'll also find out how to submit music to me if you want to see if I'm interested in you being a partner. Yes, this is not a slam dunk to be a partner. There are many people who get in touch with me, and it's iffy if I get involved with them for various reasons, including not great music. And there are some that are good, but I'm not sure. And then there are some that it looks like a lot of work, or they're just, there's a lot of ways. And sometimes it progresses all the way. If I like the music, it progresses all the way to a Zoom call that's free, that we talk and talk about how to get your music and how to get you in the program and stuff like that. Just did one yesterday. And so that's how you get into the Positive Spin Partners program. So make sure you go and you email me there. I just have a few things left to talk about how I get so many dang songs into quality libraries, and there's how we get into libraries and how I work with libraries. We were talking about the stems and all the stuff, all that kind of stuff. Right now I'm trying to talk about and describe to you why and how that I am able to get a lot of things into sync, a lot of songs made, and so much songs made. Because you notice the word right here, quality. I'm talking about quantity. How do I make a lot? That's the quantity part. But unfortunately, this word is before this word. This is the main word. Quality is first. But then after you have that in sync, especially in the library game, you have to have this word a lot. So I am mixing anywhere from 1 to 3 songs a week and finishing up like I did this week. I finished 2 albums that were, to a place where I can make sure that they are ready to show the library. And once I show the library and they give me the thumbs up, and sometimes that communication can take a while, but then once you get that and they say, yep, go ahead and send me the information for the contract, send me the information for all the songs, the metadata, send me any metadata that I'm going to send them. Sometimes they will do that themselves. And then obviously send all the stems and mixes that they ask for. Every library, I'm warning you, is different on what they want and how they want it delivered. Every single one. I try to keep a consistent way of delivering stems, but that's something for a whole other video. But that's where I'm trying to get to. As we're talking every week with the Positive Spin partners about what albums we're doing, eventually we will get to the end of a project. And this week, 2 projects came to an end. And they came to an end because I finished them. I finished mixing them. And I got all the parts in. I got approvals back from the people who were part of them. And then I got approvals from the libraries that are taking them. Eventually, as I have my own sub-label, the process will be the same. I'll have to finish them, but the only person I need to get a thumbs up from is me and or the partner who's involved with the song. I'd like them to be happy with it as well. And usually they're pretty happy with it. Because all I've done is taken what they started or what they worked on and made it better. So it's usually done. But think about this. If I got even just 1 album a week mixed of 10 songs, there are 52 weeks in a year. That's 520 songs. That would do it. I'm happy with that. I don't have to be greedy and need 1,000 songs a year or 2,000 songs. That's getting a little crazy. But mixing 1 album a week is doable for me. I know for some of you, you're like, oh, I'd be lucky if I could get 1 song done per week or 1 song done per month. I've had some people tell me that lately. And that is probably a reason why you know you're not ready for my program. Well, that's not true. See, there's so many different levels of people who are part of our program that it really doesn't matter what your speed is, what your ability is, but there's just some intangibles of being a partner. And so that's important. But, I think one of the most important things that I'm finding as part of what's happening and how I am getting all this done and how I get music done at all, how I get these videos done, anything. And one reason why you see a little, sometimes less video here on this channel. It used to be that I would make I'd make 2 or 3 videos a week. And then it got to the point where I'd make 1 big video and then I'd cut it up into little chunks as well. Or make shorts. I've stopped doing all that and just doing this one thing, which I try to go back and edit. So a lot of the stuff and the uhs and stuff like that are cut out. And a lot of the comments that really don't pertain to that video, because I want people to listen to the podcast and get something out of it, I will edit out. But the thing that it takes more than anything in order to create a lot of quality music for Saint, you have to have a singular focus. And this is something I haven't always had in my life. I am a massively creative person that likes to do things that don't really even see the light of day. Even like I used to make comic books when I was little. I've written stories and a few books and have toyed with how to get them published, all the while trying to do my music stuff and doing music professionally. And I've had stuff published as a writer, as a fiction and nonfiction writer. But the one thing that's changed in the past 5 years, especially since I got my master's in composition and I got just more in love with composing than I ever have before in my life, which has been a lifelong love since I was 13, is I've had a singular focus towards what I want to get done with my music. And I've stopped writing stories and books. I've stopped making courses and free ebooks and stuff like that. And I've brought down the production on the YouTube channel as far as how much that I do. I've quit freaking out about interviewing everybody and doing all sorts of stuff. I even have quit watching as much television, playing games on PlayStation. I have cut a lot of that stuff out because I'm trying to keep my focus on what the main thing is. I'm making the main thing the main thing. And I think It's probably the biggest reason why I get stuff done that other people don't get stuff done, because everybody else, and I'm also luckily or unluckily, unfortunately, at a time in my life where I have grown children. Some of you have kids and you've got all these activities to do besides work and everything, and music fits into this tiny little corner. I've been there. I lived there for a while, and I just stayed up late because I was a late person. But there are other people who just get up super early before the sun even comes up and they work on music. Those are, if you have a singular focus, which is I love this idea of putting music into finding someone who wants my music and puts it in a place where it can be found by people who need it, which is music supervisors and people like that who need music for TV shows and films and different things. And some people feel that way about stock music still. They find it easy to make music and put it up on stock libraries, which it is for the most part. I don't know how. I think monetarily that's going down pretty good. And I still feel like right now that sync is a great investment. And so I suggest to everyone that they focus on it because, again, as I quickly say, do you think Spotify is going to be your thing? Are you going to really market your butt off to Spotify as an artist? The people who do make that their singular focus, and they make a lot of, and if they're going to make money, they will make it. Are you going to make performing your singular focus? You're going to get a gig locally and or go do tours and things like that, and that's going to be your focus? Or maybe you do classical music or jazz or something. It's all built on performance, and so you're going to get those performances. That's going to be your singular focus. I work with a lady right now I'm helping who makes musicals. Her singular focus, or at least what we're trying to make her singular focus, is getting those musicals performed in playhouses and in theaters. You've got to have this singular focus. You've got to have that one thing that you're going after and go after it. Because if it's just a thing, and then so is this hobby, and so is television shows, and so is gaming, and so is white water rafting, and so is underwater basket weaving, whatever your thing is, you can have all these things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fun to have hobbies. But if you want to do what I'm doing, you have to be of singular focus. You have to be doing and focused on every day. How can I make this better? How can I move to the next level? And maybe that is just a little much for you. You're like, music has to be fun. But let me tell you this. I want to do this. I wake up every day and because the fun for me is to come in here and work on songs, whether it's mixing them, whether it's writing them from the scratch, whether it's co-writing them with someone else, whether it is taking what someone has done and sending it to me and then improving it and mixing it, whatever that is, whether it's meeting with people online or talking to my libraries or talking to my musicians in Nashville, whatever it is, that's fun for me. And it has to be fun for you too. And one of the things I tell my partners almost every week in our meeting is that the most important part of this is that it's fun. Because if you're not having fun, then why do it? Fun is more important than money. That's right, you heard me. For me, Gregory Loy says, where the money at? Well, and that's a fair question to ask a channel called Make Music Income. But the first part for me is more important, and that is the making the music and the fun that I have. I want to have fun. I've always wanted to have fun. I've always chosen fun over money. I've always chosen I could have. And you say, hey, you're contradicting yourself. Because you just a minute ago said I had to have singular focus. I can't have fun. I got to be working. And this is the hard thing that I have to explain to my wife. And this is our last point here today, is the reason that I can do a lot of this stuff that I do is because fun and work are the same for me. Making music and making art for the libraries I'm serving, for sometimes even the clients that I'm serving, and for my own enjoyment, whether it makes money or not, is fun. The line is very hard to see where work is and where fun is because they're both the same. And so that's one of the things that I stress when I talk to my partners. I talk to them about, let's make sure we're having fun. And the meetings every week, I think, are a lot of fun because we talk about fun ideas. And if they're not having fun, I ask them, what's a project you'd have fun doing? What do you want to do? And let's do an album in it. Let's put our heads together and let's do something. So thanks so much for watching and for listening to the Make Music Income podcast. Make sure you go to makemusicincome.com/free. Get you some free stuff. I have free ebooks there and free courses for certain things. And those may be changing soon, so you better get those while they exist. And courses, if you're interested in getting one. But other than that, make sure you check out Positive Spin Partners at positivespinsongs.com/partners. And you can see on there how to submit music to me and how not to. I'll just say that. Maybe I'll do a whole video on that sometime. But that's really all I have for you this week, everybody. Thanks so much for being here and being part of the Positive Spin and Make Music Income podcast. It might need to start to be called the Positive Spin Partners podcast. But that's just the answer. If you want to know how I do it, how do I make a ton of quality sync music? The answer is I have partners who help me do it. We work together as a team, and we create a lot of great music to market to libraries and to market to briefs that are asking for music. And so that is the answer. Thanks again for watching today. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and make sure you email me if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.